from Hudson.
That's a good one. Well, we're here with James, a good buddy of mine, and an amazing storyteller. So welcome to the Conversations with Kevin on the Kevin Marks podcast, inaugural show. And James, welcome.
Hey, thanks, man. This is going to be really, really recordable.
That's a good description.
Record setting? We don't know.
Probably not. I mean, the first million views are going to be tough, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But all joking aside, it's good to have you here.
You do intend to market this to special needs groups, eh?
Mostly,
maybe their bar won't be that high.
We have to aim low.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a few groups of society that we could go there. But it's not about the hating, right?
No, there's a lot of people that are as messed up as we are that are going to enjoy this.
Oh, yes.
There's a niche market for people of our style and our intellectual
isolated
numbness.
trolls.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
So you're here early this morning. We're doing this like at 7:30 in the morning because this is James' availability, and it works for me because I got a busy day today.
Who's playing this afternoon?
This afternoon, oh God, I have such a bad memory. I think it's the Lions, and anyways, I'm going for the Lions.
Okay.
The other team doesn't matter.
Are you going?
No, we're staying here.
Okay, you having buds over?
Yeah, well, Sean's coming over, and we're going to... okay, this is funny. We watch a lot of TikTok videos, and we send each other videos, and every now and then there's recipe videos for like really bad recipes of stuff that people shouldn't be eating because it's just going to give you a heart attack in the spot, you know? So he sent me this video about air fried Twinkies.
Oh.
So what you do is you melt the butter and you put the butter on the Twinkie with a brush. And then you put it in the air fryer till it gets crispy, crunchy on the outside, and soft and hot on the Twinkie soft and hot on the inside. So that's going to be our football dessert snack today. And
I'm sure if you look that up, you could find a YouTube where they do those super hot pepper eating contests.
Yeah,
they've had air fried Twinkie eating contests, and somebody can like down 70 in a minute.
Probably. I knocked down 2 the other day, and I wanted the whole box. I had to test it, quality control, right?
Oh, of course.
Yeah,
of course.
Not that I was being greedy,
Hey.
I bought 2 boxes of Twinkies just in case I need a little overflow for testing. You
got to put your Twinkie where it counts,
That's what she said.
Air fried Twinkies. Man, things I would never try. Notable... Something I thought, that looks so cool. I've got to try it. It was at a rib fest, and it was one of those tornado potatoes. It's all it looks like a big slinky spring.
They spiral it?
Yeah. I said, I'll try one.
Yeah.
This was like eating a block of salt. I like that. I got about halfway through, and I was like, I can't do this. So I let the seagulls take care of the rest. But man, was that... I don't know. And I love spicy stuff, but this was like just so much salt. But I like caviar.
Yeah, it's salty.
Go figure. Except you can't bloody find it anymore.
I don't know. Maybe the Russians took over the market and they're keeping it to themselves.
Go to a specialized poissonnerie or something, because they used to have it at a nicer IGA or something. You can't get it anymore.
The other recipe that we got off YouTube, which is actually really good, is you take a regular piece of white bread, sandwich size, and you roller pin it, so it's flat.
Yeah.
And it gets more malleable. And then you stick a hot dog with a little bit of mustard, and you roll it into it, and you stick some toothpicks in it, and you stick that in the air fryer. So you get a crispy, and you put in some oil or some butter on it to make it more crispy and more unhealthy, because that's what you want, right? If you're going to have a snack, you may as well do something right,
Do you have an air fryer?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So you make those, and they're crunchy and juicy and hot on the inside.
Okay. Let's go. No.
You want to have some?
No, too early.
I don't have any hot dogs or bread. Or
Twinkies?
I have the Twinkies.
Okay.
I did promise them to Sean, though.
Okay. No. Save it for your game.
The next podcast, we are going to have Twinkies. And rolled up hot dogs. That'll be our snack during the show, okay? Or before or after, whatever. It depends how you want to do it.
All right. I'll double up on the blood pressure meds that day.
That's a good idea. I always have that extra pill they gave me for one of those days where I have a little extra high blood pressure. They said, take this in case your blood pressure is over 140. I'll probably take 2 that day.
Jesus. Miracle of modern medicine.
Yeah. So I have to comment.
Yo.
I like your shirt.
Oh, thank you.
You look snazzy.
This was a gift from my good friend Vladimir. He brought it to me from Panama.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's nice to have friends who think of us.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a lot of... I don't have a lot of fancy Vietnam, but I do have some select items that I kind of dig.
It's like what I was saying about friends, think of us... you never know who your true friends are until they do something that is not necessary but is actually very beneficial to you, and they do it for you. I have a friend, Bob, who I went to see Genesis tribute concert with on Friday.
Oh, how was it?
It was awesome, dude.
Wow.
These musicians are top notch.
Yeah.
What they do, I probably explained this before, but I'll explain it for the people. What they do, they're called musical box.
Right.
And they recreate a show verbatim that was done in '74 at the Montreal Forum.
Okay.
They got the bootleg. They wrote down all the script. So everything he says between songs is what Gabriel said between songs.
Oh, wow.
And the set is in the same order. The improvs they did live, they reenact. So it's like a time travel trip to 1974.
Yeah. That is so cool.
The crowd was on fire. And the light show was moderate but good. And the reason why I'm bringing up this show is that you know a good friend when they think of you. And I have a bad knee, and I have a hard time sitting at the Bell Center or any of these places because I got long legs, and I'm a big guy, and my knee gets locked.
This was at Place des Arts, no?
Yeah, this was at Place des Arts. But nonetheless,
much more comfortable seats.
Yes, but nonetheless, he considered that, and he got me an aisle seat.
Oh, nice. So you can stretch
in
out.
the loge.
Oh, nice.
It's even bigger and more comfortable.
Yeah.
So that's where I was saying friends who think of you in a in a way where it's not really necessary to go that far is really cool. Yeah. So like your friend bringing you that shirt, he thought of you.
Well, I gave him a ride to and from the airport, and I picked up his mail and checked on his place in his car while he was gone.
Still didn't need to do it, right? You still thought of you.
He's my neighbor, of course.
He's a nice guy, you know? So it's nice to have people like that in our lives, you know? And as I get older, I start to appreciate the special friendships. You know, you don't.
No, they get thin. Our circle of friends gets thin. Then you got a bunch of buddies at work. I mean, we both worked at the same place, and it's their life or jobs. Beg your pardon, but yeah. I don't live in the plateau anymore.
No, but your friendships get weeded out as time goes by because people change.
Yeah,
your common interests change.
Sure.
You know, I mean,
and they get married and they have kids. Married, busy. It's like trying to make a band when you're in your 50s.
Well, that's almost impossible because it's like getting married all over again, but to 3 other guys. You know, it's like you have to have relationships with 3 other people in a band.
Yeah.
That are cohesive, and not only do you have to agree on the music. But in between...
But just the rehearsal schedule is nuts.
Yeah, and also the socializing in between music is something that is... You know, the guy could be a great bass player, guitarist, drummer, singer, and be a total idiot socially. So you have to sacrifice, dealing with that environment between shows and during breaks and stuff like that, and to appreciate the quality of his musicianship. So bands, especially at our age, because, at one point they have kids and they're married, and after that they have more free time, and then they have grandkids. So it's not an easy thing, And
the longest band I was in, it was all like we hung out, just pals as well as. Okay,
that's let's setup.
Go rehearse.
Because you hear a lot of stories like Pink Floyd near the end of the Wall tour. They put all their trailers far apart from each other. and they had pathways to lead to the stage that didn't cross paths because they couldn't stand each other.
That's functional.
So yeah, making music with people is like a relationship. It's like a marriage in a sense. It's like you got to get along.
Oh yeah,
and you have to have common interests. So yeah, that's sidetrack, but that's
your story about the musical box reminds me. I saw a pro show like that, but it was the Beatles.
Oh yeah,
and this was back in
1897.
Yeah, a long time ago, early 80s or before. And the way they introed, the first thing you saw on the stage, they had the lighting set up so it looked like black and white lighting.
Yeah.
Black and white television. And they had a semi-transparent curtain at the very front of the stage that looked like an old-style black and white TV.
Oh, that's cool.
And it opened with Ed Sullivan coming out going, "Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles." And they started playing as they did on their first live American broadcast.
That is very cool.
And it just said it, man. It was so historic to see this stuff.
Yeah.
It just brought the house down. Fantastic show.
It's funny you mentioned black and white. Do you ever notice that when you remember the past, it's more grainy and it looks like old film in your mind? It's like it's not HD, you know what I'm saying? Like today everything's HD, it's super clear. But our memories of movies and TV was not high def. So, and our pictures are not, if you look at your old pictures, it's not a high def camera.
No, definitely.
So it kind of creates that memory imprint of old TV style images in your mind when you think of the past. I mean, that's for me, that's how I see it. And whenever I do video editing, I like to add that old TV grainy style every now and then, because it's artistic.
What I used to dig is on like a game show, black and white game show, the animator's watch would always get like a starburst on it.
Yeah.
Like a hot point of an old flash bulb.
Yeah, it's like a lens flare.
What is that? Yeah. Wow, things have changed so much.
Yeah, it's
anyway.
It's interesting being this age.
Yeah, I find the thing I like the most is I was born before a lot of this stuff happened, and I've seen it happen. Now, that's true for any generation. The oldest person I ever knew was a gentleman named Morris Lee, and he was born in 1890.
Wow.
Yes, 1890 in England. He went from horse-drawn carriages and steam engines to internal combustion engines to electric, computers, rockets, space exploration. I mean...
Yeah.
Not to mention communications. I mean, Morse code and wireless.
Yeah, 1800s, you had a telegraph pole and that was it.
Yeah.
It's like my grandmother was born in 1902. She went from horse and buggy, outhouses, no toilet paper, which is something we don't realize.
No, absolutely.
To man walking in the moon.
It's so groovy. That James Bond film, Live and Let Die, the first one with Roger Moore. He's on Saint Monique, and they're big into voodoo.
Yeah.
And they were doing this ceremonial dance, and it's very similar to that. And I'm going like, okay. Like, my friend Vladimir is from Panama, wicked good percussionist, like, amazing. He knows all of these. Oh, that's a whatever name of rhythm, and that's a whatever name, and that's a whatever style. And he knows all this by heart, right? And his rhythms have names. I just go, this is written on January 19th, and it's the first part, and that's the second part. Like, I don't have a title for it. He would probably go, oh yeah, that's a traditional this and that. So
yeah.
Anyway.
Well, that's what makes me think about music, making me think about music, because being a guitarist, I'm not trained. I don't know anything about music. I don't know how to read music, write
You're
music.
an intuitive player.
Yeah, and when I learn music, I realize it's something I already knew, but I didn't know what it was called. So when I play a scale that I just thought, not I created, because there's no making up new scales, but when I start intuitively making a scale, somebody go, oh, that's something, something, something. I go, oh, okay, I didn't know how to name. Like everything has a name, but I don't know. So learning is almost like realizing what you already know sometimes.
You really got to specialize in that. I mean, it's virtually impossible. I am of the opinion to know everything there is about music.
It's impossible.
Unless you're an absolute freak of nature like Mozart.
Or Zappa.
Or Zappa, somebody of that, But even, and those are composers.
Yeah.
Let's make a big distinction.
Yeah.
I'm a cover tune drummer. Like, that's what I really enjoy doing.
Yeah.
And that's just copying somebody else's work. The people who actually write and compose, that is very, very unique.
As you said, I'm intuitive. I'm also an improv kind of guy.
Yeah.
Like, I play with people who are better than me, and we do a jam, and they can't follow because they don't know what it sounds like already. And that's the difference between what I do and what most people do like you do. They do covers, they understand what they're doing, they've learned it, they know it by heart. I couldn't do a cover for my life, say it was my life dependent on it. But I could create a song in 10 minutes and it's palatable.
I like cover. I've always been into rehearsal, practice, and training. And so for me, it's like, how can you play the same thing over and over again? Because I'm trying to perfect it as close to the original as possible, and I get a thing for that.
I don't have patience.
I don't mind repeating. I don't mind routine.
See, that sounds like work to me. Yeah, Frank Zappa said it really well. He says, there's a lot of amazing guitarists out there, and you go see their show, and they play the guitar solo exactly note for note, like the album. And then he says, I never play the same guitar solo twice. And he goes, if you made me do that, it'd be like punching a clock at a factory. Mm-hmm. That's how I feel.
Yeah, and I get that,
And it's just, both ways are totally necessary in life because you need people like you who remembers things
I'm not
perfectly.
good enough to do what they do, so I just go, I'll stick to the book, okay?
Yeah. I've improv with you, and you do good improv.
Well, I do more improv on the djembe. This marvelous instrument, Remo World Percussion, beautiful.
Yeah.
And
very nice.
That one I can really improv on, probably because it's scoped down enough to my skill level, because I'm using just hands, and I have this thing when I walk. Every time I walk, I've always got one of those like or some kind of a marching rhythm going on in my head.
You keep the beat in your head and you're walking,
yeah, and it's like I always keep a piece of paper in my back pocket. And I go, oh, stop! That was really cool, and like jot it down,
Well, that's the difference between me and you, because I do the same thing with my creativity. As like I'd be at work and I go tum 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 tum. Okay, that would be a good beat for a guitar riff, and then I just do it over and over again until I remember it. I don't write things down. I don't know how to do that. But
I can teach you, man. It's not hard at all.
That
like that's what my kind of script looks like.
Yeah, that looks like hieroglyphs to me. That looks like the Egyptian pyramid. But that's what's interesting about people.
If I can do it, it's not.
You see, you say that because from your perspective, it's easy, but from my perspective, it's Chinese. So to me, that's like learning a new language, and after 5 years old, it's hard to learn new languages. That's what they say. The first 5 years, you form your learning structure. But that's what's interesting about people, because people are different. People are... sorry.
Oh, you got a call?
No, it's a reminder for my medication. So people are individuals. I did a song about that. It goes, I am that guy. And the lyrics are basically, you know, that guy in the corner that you look at in the corner of your eye. He's a little bit different. He's not like you. Well, I am that guy. But at the end of the song, I say, we are all that guy, that girl to somebody else. So we're all individuals that make other people think differently about how they see things. Yeah, she
does that all the time?
She does that all the time. She likes to walk on the
wow.
ramp. Yeah. You can't see her right now. But
No.
Walking on the railing.
That's an incredible balance beam work.
Here is a staircase that goes down to the second floor. And it's all wood. And
has she ever fallen?
She almost fell once. I had to catch her.
Jesus.
Yeah, you're driving us crazy.
Kitty. Come on. Come back where it's safe.
Come here.
She get a shot of her. She's absolutely beautiful.
She's going to be in the shot right about now.
Come on.
Her little head poking through. Come over here, Leia. This way. Come here. Come see James. Introduce yourself to everybody. She was in one of my intro videos. There she is. There's Leia. It's my tuxedo cat.
Hello, sweetheart. Cats are great.
I love cats.
Yeah.
Dogs, I have nothing against dogs, but dogs are like 3-year-old kids. They're always excited. They always want attention, and they're always needing something. They're very needy.
Yeah.
Where cats are like 17-year-old teenage boys. It's like, I don't give a crap.
I don't need you. Just
feed
food.
Me and let me sleep.
Yeah.
And if I want to play, you better be ready, because I want to be pet right now, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm really glad you're here.
No more pets for me.
No, I don't know. I mean, she's 10 years old, so there's, in the next 5-6 years, there's a potential that, I'm not going to have her anymore. And I'm pretty sure I'll get another one. I've always had cats all my life. I've always had basically 2 cats. But when Winky passed away a year and a half ago, my daughter got us a second cat, which is a little Miss. Or Missy Moo, as I call her. And that cat left with my daughter when she moved out, but will be coming back in July when she moves back in. So there'll be two cats again. But yeah, I think I would get another cat. I'm not... I don't know. I've had so many cats in my life.
Oh, they're cool. They're chill person. If you get one that has a chill personality, I had one that was super vicious once.
Yeah.
And oh my God, I ended up finding a foster home for it. I just couldn't hack it anymore.
Well, what I've
attack you and bite the other cat and just be mean.
What I noticed about cats is I know people who like to play with their cats a lot, and they scruff them up and all that, and they tease them. Those cats usually become more aggressive because they don't always want to play when you think they want to play, and they get aggressive because of that. I've never teased a cat. I never, this is how I am with cats. And they pick up your vibe. Yeah. Cats are very intuitive.
Oh, yeah.
Very intuitive.
Oh, did you see the Facebook post of, Keith?
Yeah.
Johnson, right?
Yeah.
He has...
prolific poet.
One Irish wolfhound left.
Yeah.
Right?
Massive dogs.
Yeah. His name is Artemis.
Yeah.
And he just came back from a vacation in Colombia.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I saw that, yeah.
And he filmed the first time he's reunited with Artemis when he
came back home.
And I guess he had him pensioned out. He was looked after. The dog was hilarious. He wasn't like jumping, barking. He was just going like, whoa, like, how could you have done that? I am so glad to see you. And I was worried. And it went on and on and on. And I was just like, oh, man, if that's not super hyper intuitive behavior.
Yeah. And I saw
and
this.
It's the right breed of dog for him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He reminds me of an Irish wolfhound.
Yeah. I saw this documentary footage talking about animals and their intuitiveness and all that stuff. And what they did is they took 2 cameras with timestamps on them.
Okay.
One camera stayed in the house with the dog and the dog's the dog owner's mother. So she left. Then the other camera followed her, and the other camera stayed inside the house.
Okay.
The dog went to the door when she left, stayed there for a few minutes, and then the dog sat on the couch next to her mother. And the girl went to the park about 2 blocks away, and she read a book. And about an hour later, she closed her book and put it in her bag, and the dog got up from the couch and went to the door.
Get out.
And waited for her to come home.
Wow.
Now, when I used to work, my window in the back there is facing the parking lot.
Right.
I would come home, she'd be looking out the window.
Wow.
And she'd look at me come out of the car, and then when I come to the steps, she'd be at the bottom of the steps like a dog. So they know these things.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. They have really good internal clocks. There's a neighbor of mine who has some kind of husky breed. Lives downstairs. Real gentle dog named Zeus. And they look after him really good. They're always walking him. They get him out a lot. A dog like that needs it, right? These people who try and turn a husky into a Chihuahua lapdog, it's a disgrace.
It is.
Anyway, but in the summertime, I'll be sitting outside on the balcony. He'll come out 5 minutes before people arrive in the parking lot. He's 7 stories up. Like I'm 100 feet off the ground, so he's like 90 feet off the ground. And from that distance, he can spot one of his caregivers getting out of a car in the parking lot at like 70 meters and identify him.
Yeah,
it's crazy. And he does his little greeting howl and everything. And
I personally, and this might be controversial for some people, but I think animals, especially our pets, they have a sense that we don't have, or that we've not mastered because we were so cluttered with information and practicality, or
we've forgotten
because we don't need it anymore. Because
that's a good point.
Yeah,
it's not, our survival is not dependent on listening to our gut instinct.
That's right.
Everyone's got a plan. It's written down here. I gotta get up and go do this, and then do that, and then do this, and then it's not like I don't think Org and Korg back in caveman days woke up and go, gee, I better get over to that tree and make my notch so the chief knows that I'm actually working on. No, man.
No. Yeah, and it's funny, I was watching I like watching little mini documentaries, and one of them was talking about how since we're cavemen, basically, we've always had to survive from the predators at night. And there was always somebody who was awake.
Yeah.
They took turns sleeping.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, sentry.
Now,
animals do that.
Yeah, but now it's embedded in us to do that. Now, if you remember, you've been married, you've been in relationships. Women always complain.
I thought this was supposed to be a friendly conversation.
Yeah, no, but I'm getting to a good point. Women always complain that men are sleep like a log and they're awake half the night.
Right.
But most of the men I know say, I was awake half the night. And the reality is, people take turns sleeping when they live in groups without planning it. It's not a conscious thing. It's like you sleep lighter when the other person is sleeping heavier. And they did experiments, and they said even in apartment buildings, there's cycles of sleeping, so that there's always somebody who's on alert.
Really?
Yeah. And that comes from our predator days, Our days of where we had predators, not our predator days, but our days living with predators, Because there's no more T-Rexes trying to chop our heads off.
Important distinction, yes.
Yeah. So, since safety our safety now, our security now has numbed our defenses mechanisms. Whereas today, in today's generation, nothing against this generation, but they're so coddled with protection in society that their instincts to defend themselves are minimal. Yeah. Which is not a bad thing if you live in a society where you don't need that, but the reality is that kicks in. It needs to be there.
Well, I watch a lot. I was lucky enough to train for many years with Tony Blauer, who's probably the greatest self-defense instructor of our modern era. He has a really good arsenal of moves and physical techniques. But the thing that separates him from everyone else, I've never seen an equal, is he links our genetic safety startle flinch reflexes to what's the word? Reestablishes them.
Okay.
Like, you have this.
Yeah.
Example, you know how to defend yourself. You've just forgotten that you know how to defend yourself.
The instinct is still in us.
Right.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things he works on is with the you walk into a spider web and you go like this. You have startle flinch. He says, well, instead of going like this, use some kinesiology and get your elbow outside 90 and jam it more and get angled in instead of being flattened back.
And being more vulnerable
but
that way.
But this happens all the time. You just have to modify it a little bit, and through a few repetitions you can. And but he also says that's the last stage. Another thing we've forgotten is our spider sense. There are, before anything happens, there's always a pre-contact symptom, a cue.
Yeah, I agree.
We go, oh no, that wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
Instead of listening to your gut instinct, going, oh, heightened alert status. Okay, scanner's up.
Yeah. What's
going on? And he works it like that's where the conflict starts, and that's where the resolution to the conflict, that's where the planning starts. Now, you can't control it because you don't know where the conflict is going to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Your opponent controls the fight, but you don't have to remain in surprise. And he says that's the dangerous part of any, and this is like tying into what you're saying, in a society where you do not need defense, it's, wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be great? But if you've never recognized it or meditated on it or say, no, my morning mantra to myself is a recital of my core beliefs, which is no one's allowed to interfere with my life. No one's allowed to interfere with my family. La, 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 la. And you got to think that out before. It's better. It's better. It doesn't mean you can't do anything if you never have, but it's just the more you acknowledge it and meditate on it, and I'm 60, and I have senior moments, and I just forgot where I was going with that.
That happens to me all the time.
There you go.
Well, let me interject so you can remember what you say. I 100% agree. I was in my early 20s starting to do recording, and I went to Steve's Music and I bought a Fostex 480 8-line mixer with a 4-track tape, and that was like the bomb.
Wow.
I mean, everybody says, why do you need that? It's too much. I says, no, I know what I'm doing. I like this. So anyways, it was like $1,800 or $1,400.
Oh man.
At the time, that was a lot of money.
That's serious change. Yeah.
So I had $1,000 cash in my inside pocket, and I needed the 400, and there was no cards back then.
Yeah, no guichet automatic. Yeah.
Well, the guichet was there, but there was no Interact at the cash.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean.
So I'm downtown on Sherbrooke Street, now René Lévesque, and I'm at the corner of Sherbrooke and something, and there's a bank there. So my friend Norm pulls up on the side of the road, waits for me in the car. So I get in, and I'm standing, and there's a mirror, right? And there's two people ahead of me, and I come in, and there's two guys there, and they say, hey, go ahead first, we're not ready. So right away, my spider senses lit up. So the whole time I was waiting.
Oh, they let you cut in line ahead of them.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So I'm watching, and now the two people are gone, and now I'm alone with them. Now I knew something was going to happen.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So yeah, the spidey senses are real.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And it cracks me up because there's so many people. Okay, one thing I really don't like is pseudoscience. And
well, that's a touchy subject because pseudoscience was the world is round and not flat. That was pseudoscience back then.
Was, yeah.
You know.
We know better.
Yeah. Falling off the edge of the earth, that was pseudoscience.
Yeah. There's I used to work midnights, and there was this...
Well, we worked together on midnights at one point.
Right. There was this overnight radio show that you pick up from the States at the time because the broadcast strengths go down.
The Art Bell Show.
Pick out, exactly, coast to coast.
Coast to coast with Art Bell. God rest his soul.
And
greatest radio interview ever.
And he had these whack jobs on. And I'm just like, what the heck are you talking about, man? Like, are you serious? And yet it gets eaten up. Like people who read horoscopes and stuff like that. It's just like, oh no, my horoscope said...
But in defense of these whack jobs, I've watched that show, listened to that show since the beginning. I started listening to it on AM radio from Chicago overnight because the frequency would reach me. It was screechy and loud, and I still listen to it. And I heard almost every show he's done.
Okay.
And I know these whack jobs you're talking about. But some of those whack jobs were right. Because we didn't know about certain science things that we didn't understand yet or that we thought we knew. I can't give you a good example right now, but some of these pseudoscience things are actually the real deal.
Well, you know...
Just like the Earth is not flat. Well, that's another story now because there's still people that think it's flat. Yeah. But you notice the webpage for those who think the
aluminum foil?
Yeah.
Okay.
The webpage for the Earth is Flat Society says we have members all around the world. You can't get away from reality.
Oh man, that's a scream. Yeah, well, listen. What I subscribed to when I was a kid, I was really lucky. I could concentrate on things, and I wasn't really hyperactive. And I grew up in front of the TV like most kids in the 60s and 70s in my neighborhood.
Flintstones at lunchtime.
Flintstones at lunchtime. Joe Van's matinee after that. Mm-hmm. And he would play some cool movies. As a matter of fact, I watched 2 movies last night that I saw for the first time on his matinee. The first one was the 1952 War of the Worlds.
Oh, that was great.
Which is just mind-blowing. And
what a psychological project that was. Oh, psyops, big time.
Oh yeah. And the other one was Dr. Strangelove.
Yeah.
You know, and I didn't understand what Dr. Strangelove was about when I was 6-7 years old when I saw it, but it had airplanes, and I go, that's cool enough for me.
Yeah.
So, and I grew up watching National Geographic and Cosmos.
Yeah.
Carl Sagan. Now, so the thing I subscribe to is he outlined what a scientific method is, and that is we know what we know for now until there's new evidence that is presented, and it is extremely scrutinized and to be validated
and replicated.
Then we reserve the right to change the manual.
Exactly.
And he says the thing about pseudosciences, or I mean, he said it so nicely. Religion is contains some of the most beautiful literature, poetry, and
philosophy too,
and high moral ethics and goodwill, which is fine. Where they get into trouble is when they say, we know how this happened and it cannot be changed. You can't change the book.
Yeah.
And that's where I kind of go, if we never change the book, we wouldn't be sitting here with all this technology and podcast. We'd be sitting around with oil lamps.
Or just a fire.
Making moonshine.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, you just look at dentistry, look at medical capabilities now. Treatment for a cut used to mean amputation.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you mentioned dentistry.
Seriously?
Barbershops. Did you know that barbershops had a dual purpose?
Yeah, they were bleeding stations.
So that's why there's a red line in a barbershop thing. Yeah. But back to the matinee. Do you remember Don McGowan's matinee at 1 o'clock?
He did what?
He did, yeah. He used to introduce show.
Okay, maybe
movies.
it was after. Maybe he did it after Jovan.
Yeah, because I was
Jovan passed away
probably about 10
young.
years old, so you would have been 15.
Yeah, he passed away young, Jovan, unfortunately.
Yeah. Those were good days. Don McGowan was such a
what a
nice
gentleman.
person, eh?
What a gentleman.
Mm.
Yeah, I always liked his work.
For some of you, we're in Canada, Montreal, Quebec. So Don McGowan was a TV host.
Yeah, he's a local media celebrity. Yeah,
he did the weather and all kinds of stuff. And
news anchor
on our local CTV channel. So you could look that up later and look up Don McGowan if you want. It's an interesting person.
Yeah. Montreal has a few. I saw a show a week ago. It was what's the brand name of it? Warner Brothers, Looney Tunes, and it was Bugs Bunny on the big screen at Place des Arts, the really nice concert hall in Montreal, and they showed the cartoons which featured famous classical music, and the music was played live by a 70-piece symphony orchestra called the Philharmonic Orchestra.
Oh, cool.
It was unbelievable. And this is Looney Tunes.
Well, that's where most of us learned classical music.
Well, this is the point that the conductor made. His name was George Daugherty, something. And brilliant guy, really funny. When they showed Bugs Bunny coming out in conductor tuxedo and tails, and he goes like this on the screen, and that's how George Daugherty started his compartment when he was doing it. He didn't break the baton and throw it away like Leopold, but that would have been funny too. I thought he was going to do that, but he said through these cartoons, kids were exposed to a master class of great musical works.
Exactly.
Rossini, Wagner, Tchaikovsky, and others that I don't remember. And this is Looney Tunes music. These scores are quick tempo with lots of changes, lots of like sound effect for scampering.
Well, who doesn't know from our generation the barbershop scene?
Yeah, absolutely.
He's massaging his head.
It was so funny.
I mean, that song is ingrained in my head with the imagery of the barber scene. Yeah,
they did that. They did Giovanni Jones, the opera singer, when he makes him asphyxiate himself and brings down that concert.
Oh my God!
Arena. They did Elmer Fudd and Bugs Bunny. As Siegfried and Broomhilda.
That's right. Yeah.
And they did do the singing sword? I don't think so. They left that one out. The medieval Excalibur or the singing sword. Yeah.
Yes, they did do that. Well, not
at this show. Not at this show. Bunny. They did a lot of. They showed some new ones. Mm-hmm. Some new style animation ones of Coyote and Roadrunner. They were okay. And but the music was fantastic, and his comments I thought were so like bang on. He goes, "This is a local Montreal orchestra." In 2023, they did 75 live shows.
Wow!
And they specialize in doing music for movies.
Yeah.
Which a lot of editing and post-production is done here in Montreal for films that are even made abroad.
Yeah.
Montreal is huge. It is so bloody unique. So getting back to Don McGowan, Montreal is a fantastic crossroads of artistic input and exposures. Mm-hmm. I read a book called Swinging in Paradise, and it's the history of the evolution of jazz in Montreal.
Oh, cool.
And it started back at the beginning of the 20th century. There was still segregation in the States. Mm-hmm. And black musicians could not play with white musicians.
Yeah.
So a lot of them got fed up with that, and there were opportunities for music, being a musician in Montreal.
during Prohibition too, that attracted a lot of people to Montreal.
Oh yeah,
Party Central here.
Oh yeah. And,
but you're right, we didn't have that segregation thing going on.
No, it was okay. Yeah. And what happened is, with the influx of these musicians, they were better at improvising, and the white boys had, more likely than not, had some formal training and knew, how to score notation and stuff like that. And this meld created some of the most powerful, innovative forces. And I was reading, it was like along Saint Jacques Street, this CP rail yard. A lot of the black workers were porters and whatever, and that was their day job. And then they'd go
play music
in clubs, because there was no recorded music.
Yeah,
everything was live.
Yeah,
when my stepfather came from Winnipeg in like the early 1950s in Montreal, there were 375 nightclubs playing live music 7 nights a week.
That's incredible.
That is nuts. He said it was so easy to find work. You rented a room in a hotel, you hung out in the lobby, had your coffee and your cigarette and read your newspaper. Somebody come in and, I need 2 bone players, I need a piano player and a drummer, who's available? Yeah. Oh, okay, let's go. That was your gig. And so you all knew the repertoire.
Yeah.
Sometimes they worked with scores.
Yeah.
But, and this went on and on for years. And he was a professional musician for that for years and had lots of different bands. He introduced me, when I started music studies, he introduced me to his peers. And I was like, okay. He says, yeah, we're going down to Biddle's tonight. Biddle's, yeah, jazz club. Yeah, I know. Like, I was maybe 13. And he introduced me to Charlie Biddles and Bernard Primo, drummer, and Biddle, not Biddles, and Oliver Jones. These guys were the house band.
Yeah. Oscar Peterson was a big thing in Montreal.
Unreal, for sure.
My mother went to a dance in high school with Oscar Peterson.
Wow. No, he was playing.
No, he was. There was. I think it was her date. Yeah.
Get out.
Yeah.
Wow.
She's not around to reaffirm the story, but yeah.
Wow.
But Montreal musicians, Quebec musicians in general, are extremely, extremely talented. Like, take Aldo Nova. Everybody knows him for Life is But a Fantasy. He did music for Céline Dion.
Yeah.
He produced and wrote stuff for Céline Dion. Our Montreal recording session musicians are some of the top notch in the world.
Absolutely.
Our production companies, we do stage setups for some of the biggest shows in the world. Lighting is mostly a Montreal thing. Films. Look at CGI. Most CGI is done in Montreal.
I think Peter Gabriel's set designer for many years on tour was a Montrealer.
Yeah, that's how they got popular.
I mean,
through that.
Peter Gabriel is probably some of the most nuanced presentations ever. The Secret World Tour is just bloody brilliant.
Yeah.
And anyway, when I was reading this book, the part that blew me away was when my one of my kids was young, and we were in a waiting room for a doctor's appointment or something, and I was reading this book, and it talked about the very first recording studio, in Montreal. And it was on Rue de l'Aqueduct, south of Notre Dame. And it was Deutsche Grammophon, and they were manufacturing wax cylinders. You'd make your recording onto the old style, right?
Straight onto
Great gramophone, but wax cylinder, not even a flat disc yet.
Yeah.
Rue de l'Aqueduct is about 300 meters long. Not even 200. That's it. It's basically a dead-end street that goes into a whatever. I'm reading this passage and I go, what? Because my friend Simon Petracchi owns Serotonin Recording Studios. Worked with him a few times, laid down some stuff for him. He recorded me a whole bunch of stuff, drumming and other compositions. I've had friends in there, extra drummers, and he burned some copies and made some recordings. Very, very like barter. I'd do some work for him, he'd provide me with some free recording time. It was awesome.
Yeah, it's a great way to do it.
Serotonin Studios, really coolest guy. And it's right across the street from the address of the Deutsche Grammophon studio. And I'm reading this and I'm going, get out. So I took a picture of it and I sent it to Simon and said, Simon, read this. He texts me back in a couple of minutes, are you out of your mind? And I said, dude, you're on the ground zero of the first recording studio in Canada. That was like back in it was in the 1800s or something.
Yeah, well, you know, the cylinders, that's the first recording.
Just amazing. So
then we have Morin Heights. We had some great recordings there.
Oh my God, yeah. The studio.
The studio Morin Heights.
Yeah, that was a shame. But I guess the building was probably all old, decrepit. Yeah, if you don't keep that stuff up.
And the technology was starting to get old. But anyways, I mean, now it's all digital. And I probably have the same quality as Morin Heights in my studio, you know, and more capacity to do things.
That's the Apollo 11 smartphone thing.
Yeah.
Or even a pocket calculator, you know.
Actually, they were saying there was more technology in a Timex calculator watch than there was in the Apollo project.
Sure.
More processing power.
Absolutely.
It's like the first hard drives. It took a forklift to get 50 megabytes out of the airplane and bring it to the lab.
Oh, man. You see, I'm glad we went. I grew up in the time frame that I did because, you know, you remember floppy disks? I mean, just weird stuff, man.
Yeah, 5 megabytes.
Oh my God. Pong. I mean, that was voodoo for us. What is this witchcraft? It was just...
The first computer that I built, I used to build my own computers, was 50 megabytes. That was the hard drive. So whenever I wanted to play a game, I had to empty my hard drive, reformat it, and then load the game because the game was like 35 megabytes or something. And then I did that for the longest time. I would basically reformat my hard drive every time I wanted to change game or software or whatever, you know. So yeah, now we're spoiled. I mean, there's more memory in my phone than there is in most computers that I had when I grew up, you know.
You know, with all of the information services available, the challenge now, as it always was, but now it's even more profound, is how to discern useful from trash.
Well, technology is a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
It is a lifesaver.
It can make you ignorant or it can make you informed.
Yeah, exactly. It could make your life better or it could ruin your life.
There was a movie. You remember the old actor Andy Griffiths? There was a movie that was made, back in the early 50s, or maybe even earlier, called Lonesome Roads. And it had a popularity resurgence when Trump became president, because he almost like stole lines from this guy. Right? So Lonesome Roads was a media person who went on radio and he became a politician, whatever. And on the mic, he was amazing. He was America's savior. We're going to get out of this depression. We're going to get out of, we're going to recover from the war and all this stuff. And then off mic, he was like, and I'm going to tell you how to do everything, and you're going to do it. You're so dumb. You need to be told what to do, right? And his wife in the story, his wife knows that about him, but she can't get him exposed because he's got this cabal of yes men around him and all this stuff. And I'm going, wow, this looks pretty familiar. And
a lot of politicians, that's how they roll.
His wife gets in cahoots with one of the sound studio operators on a radio broadcast and gets him on a hot mic when he doesn't know it. And he's going on all this rant for the disdain and disgust he has for the average citizen that publicly he says he wants to care for and do right by and all this moral goody-good stuff. And he gets caught on this hot mic and people start calling in the radio station. She's going, I'm not going to vote for them. And it's just this wave of hate feedback, and he loses his position, right? In Trump's case, that's not what happened. But anyway, yeah. Lonesome Rose, fantastic movie. And it's so creepy to see Andy Griffiths in a villain role. Because he was the sheriff, you know?
Yeah. But anyways, there's going to be minor editing due to technical problems, but that's the way it rolls. This is day one of a journey through time and space. Yeah.
This is number one. And to celebrate, I wrote an intro rhythm. And we have the ceremonial gong.
Nothing beats a real gong. I have one on my electronic drum kit that does the job,
me too.
but it doesn't do that.
It's not the same. This beauty, I went down to Chinatown in Montreal one day, and I had no idea what I was looking for. And I walked into a bunch of stores, just like aimlessly lost. No idea what I'm looking for. And I just went from one store to the next, and I wound up in a kitchen store where they sell like steamers and everything. And I'm like, what the hell? I don't even do Asian cooking. I don't, I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing? And I wandered all the way to the back of the store, and that was hanging on the wall, up on behind a rack of wooden spoons or something.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I like stores like that.
Yeah, they wanted $225 for it. I saw it, and I asked the lady, can I try it? And she goes, yeah. So I gave it a tap, just like I did there. You don't have to bash it to know its qualities. Like, one of the fun things I love doing when I go drum shopping is trying out cymbals. Do not buy cymbals online. Okay, it just doesn't work.
Oh, it's like a guitar.
Yeah, you have to
play it.
You have to hit it with the stick, hit it with the edge of your thumb to get like a gong sound out of it, and you can tell its qualities as the sound dissipates. Anyway, so I tried it and I went, this is really cool. And I looked at the lady and I said, at $225, it's got a lot of dust on it. I think it's been in your store a long time.
Yeah.
So I think I got her down to like $160 or something, which is a steal. Because if you go into a music store and you buy, now this is not brand name, there's no name or manufacturing mark on it at all. It just sounds good. And it's heavy brass and it's authentic.
That is cool.
If, like, I was in a music store, now they had different sizes, but a little one like that, which is portable. I mean, I don't have a trailer van to move stuff around, so you gotta be able to carry it.
Yeah.
You can't go Keith Emerson, Carl Palmer on yourself,
Yeah.
And one like this, they're like $650.
It's crazy, eh?
Yeah. Because it says Zildjian or whatever.
Exactly. It's all marketing now and branding and everything. And that's, it's like doing this podcast. I'm looking at microphones, and they have all these, there's all kinds of brands now that are targeted for podcasters, which are not generally people who are recording people or studio people or anything like that. And I was looking at, okay, what's the specs and why would I buy this $300 mic and all that? And I got this Shure SM58, which almost every song in the 70s was recorded with on vocals,
Okay.
And the sound quality is great. So I already have microphones. So the branding is a big thing, because like podcasting, everything's podcast this, podcast that, and they're just pieces of tech that have already existed in the music world, but being reapplied for a different purpose. And so branding changes the price.
Absolutely. I mean, and I get it.
It's all marketing. It's all money. I mean,
I
it's
understand, but
right?
I'm not married to it. If something works perfectly adequate to my needs, which are negotiable, so be it.
Yeah.
You know, if I find a drum for $10 that sounds amazing.
Same thing for guitar.
Yeah.
I've got cheap guitars that sound better than my most expensive guitar.
Who's the guitarist? Jack White?
Yeah, he makes his own guitars. And
out of like an old cigar box and a cup of like lock wire or whatever.
My favorite guitar right now that I play in my studio is a homemade guitar that I made. That I forgot about how good it was until I played it again recently. And I have a Les Paul, I have, a Fender and Telecaster, but that guitar sounds awesome.
There you go.
And they're cheap pickups, and it's a regular off-the-shelf neck and body, and
there you go.
Did it myself. Okay, I'm going to plug in this tablet because I think we're losing power. And that's not a problem as far as anything goes.
Man, you have a lot of equipment, Kevin.
Well, through the years I've been doing music, and I used to do videos for weddings. I used to film weddings and sporting events and stuff like that. Oh my God. Hockey tournaments, baseball tournaments, weddings and stuff. And so I got in touch with the tech for video through that. And I've been recording myself on tape recorders since I was 14. So yeah, the gear's gotten more expensive and more delicate and precise. But yeah, I've been doing this for a long time. It's a passion of mine.
Cool.
I mean, I am a musician, but I'm more of an artist than a musician, because musicians know how to read, write, and do all that stuff. I'm more of an artist. I play what I feel.
Wow.
And I do that. I love editing sound. I love mastering music. I love the whole process. So for me, the equipment is part of my instruments.
You know, it's funny when you say a musician is somebody who can read and write and read. I don't know. At one point in my life, I would have said, yeah, true. But now I go, no, a musician is somebody who plays music.
I agree. I just look at it as a
because I know
category.
So many intuitive players. Like for a long time, like I started with private lessons on drum set, learning how to read drum parts, and then when between the age of 12 and 17, I did the summer jazz band program for teenagers at McGill in Montreal, and that was big band, so that was another step in the education. Then I went to CEGEP, and I studied with Trevor Payne and Ronnie Page and Cy Cooper and a whole bunch of other incredible teachers. And so yeah, I learned all that stuff, but it was drum set, it was percussion ensemble, it was classical percussion, that kind of stuff. When I got into djembe playing, more like drum circle and tam-tams on the mountain and that kind of stuff, that's when I went, there are so many, my definition of music is not of what a musician is thinking, oh, well, where did you go to school? How can you read? How's your sight reading? That's a very limited scope definition for me. Because I met so many intuitive players who could just groove so well and never had a lick of formal education. They just jammed with somebody and they became amazing drummers. And like my friend Vladimir, who I mentioned earlier, who knows the name of all these rhythms, doesn't know how to write them out,
Yeah.
But that's how he learned to play percussion in Panama.
Yeah.
Well,
that reminds me of Dave Grohl. I saw him in an interview, and he goes, I'm not really a drummer. He doesn't consider himself a real drummer in the sense that he's doesn't really. He just winged it. And that's how he. I'm paraphrasing, but that's
okay. I'm sorry. I'm drawing a blank.
Dave Grohl, Foo Fighters.
Oh, right. Okay.
And he says, he goes, I just winged it. I mean, I just did what I did, and that was it, and it worked, and that's great. And there's a lot of guys that are like that, you know. Like John Bonham never had a drum lesson.
Really?
He's self-taught.
Jesus.
It's a natural, you know. So there's a lot of professionals that are in that category. So I don't feel alone. Not that I'm comparing myself to those two, but I don't feel alone in the sense that I'm not your standard musician who's got the knowledge and knows what he's doing. I just do it, and it makes sense, and I like it, and
there you go.
That's all it takes.
Yeah. Buddy Rich had that claim too. Like a new piece of music, he'd have somebody play it through a couple of times. He'd go, okay, and then he would just turn it into his own with his own style. Freak of nature.
And he was a big inspiration on John Bonham.
Oh yeah,
John Bonham mentioned him a few times in interviews. Yeah.
I was lucky enough to see him 3 times at Place des Arts.
That is very cool.
Yeah, that was unbelievable. Because of my stepdad, who was a jazz drummer in Montreal, and he knew all these guys. When the big names would come to town, he'd always had a line on tickets. And so I saw Buddy Rich 3 times, and I even saw Count Basie once.
Wow.
Yeah. Like a year before he passed away. Unreal.
That's the real deal.
I'm not a huge jazz fan. Some of it just gets on my nerves. But I like big band.
I like big band.
I think it's awesome art form. And my favorite big band album was, I think it came out in '75, Basie Big Band.
Oh yeah.
And it's just a bunch of repertoire songs. You know, Tall Cotton, that kind of stuff, the Wind Machine, and they had Butch Miles on drums. And this guy was now my stepdad knew him, and he was at a hotel once when the Basie's band was there. And all the musicians, like when you're traveling with this kind of elite orchestra, you wear your B-flat suit all the time. You don't, even when you're waiting for the bus, you're suit and tie when you go.
It's like hockey players used to be that way.
Yeah.
Suit and tie on the way in.
Absolutely. And so he's in the lobby with these guys, and they're all being conservative in their suits and stuff like that. And Butch Miles walks in a red Adidas tracksuit and goes, "What's going on, fellas? What's the matter with you?" Like, it's just... But that's Butch Miles. I mean, that's incredible drummer.
I know it's cliche, but I love the Glenn Miller Band.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, some of the best stuff was done with that band. I mean,
absolutely.
It was just incredible. Yeah, the Glenn Miller Band was pretty cool.
No, absolutely.
That's
absolutely.
My father used to listen to opera, Mario Lanza. And he used to sing like Mario Lanza.
Wow.
My father sang at my first communion at the church at the top level where the organ is.
Okay.
And without a microphone. And he filled that place up.
Wow.
Yeah, he had a great voice.
That's a talent, man.
Yeah.
Singing, like really being able to sing. It's like I'm a cover drummer. I do my best to get it as close as possible to, you know, whatever. I had an experience one night. There was this dive bar in Dorval that used to have bands Thursday to Saturday. And there was local bands. There were some bands on like circuit bands moving around town to town type of thing. And they were good. They were fine. Totally adequate for the thing. One night I walked in and I don't remember what the band's name was. It wasn't April Wine. But they had April Wine's drummer, Jerry Mercer, sitting behind the kit.
Awesome drummer.
And I'm talking in a place that holds maybe 80 people. Like packed to the gills. And I walked in and right away I just went... Like the precision and power and drive that this guy was putting out, I just went, okay, no, that's a 10. The other drummers I've seen here over the past few weeks, no. This guy, Okay, and that's the difference. It was just like, yeah.
Jerry Mercer, I compared
What a
to
machine.
Bonham in the sense that he wasn't always on time perfectly, but it fit. He was that anticipated hit, and that, you know, which, you know, some people
he was
played with him
timing machine.
Didn't like that, you know, because the way he played. But I think Mercer is in the top 5 rock drummers.
Canadian rock drummers, sure,
or even worldwide. I mean, I'll put him in the top 10 worldwide as far as rock drummers. I'm not talking about your, you know, jazz and all that stuff.
Yeah, no. It's got to be recognized as something completely different. I mean, there's Dave Weckels, there's Carl Palmer's, there's Todd Zuckerman's.
Hey, you got Neil Peart.
They're all different. You know, I'm going to say something blasphemous. I recognize how amazing Neil Peart is, or was, unfortunately, rest his soul, but I didn't like his drum solos ever.
I never liked the drum solos in Rush, and I recognize his talent. He's amazing.
He's an absolute machine. He deserves the title the Professor, but all it was him going and then doing that here, and then here, and then here, and then over on this instrument, and it was no
nuances.
You know, my favorite rock drum solo of the era. Okay, story time. October 13th, it's a Friday the 13th, 1978. I have tickets to go see Jethro Tull for the Bursting Out tour. That was their live album. Right, double album. Now, back in the day, there was no streaming service, there was no YouTube. Even songbooks. If you bought a songbook of your favorite group and they showed you the chords and drum parts and all that, they were intentionally altered. They weren't actually like, you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, same thing for guitar.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm going to see this, and it was my favorite lineup: Ian Anderson, John Evan, David Palmer, John Glasscock on bass, Martin Barry on guitar, and Barrymore Barlow playing drums. Now, Barrymore Barlow had been with them ever since he did Heavy Horses, he did Thick as a Brick. I don't know if he did War Child. Anyway, but, you know, Thick as a Brick, come on.
Yeah.
And he's got this mix of like these bagpipe drum rudiments that he worked into this kit, and he was a master with double bass drum. He does on the Bursting Out album a song called Conundrum. It's the drum solo song, and it is the most musical. It's my favorite drum solo that he does, that I like. Now, I saw the show live, and what happened was, we showed up, we were entitled little West Island brats. We had tickets in the Reds because, you know, Dad was generous. And when we showed up, it wasn't like today. Security was a little different.
What security?
Exactly. And there were these big bikers sitting in our seats, and I went up and I went, "Oh, excuse me, sir, you're in my seat." And he looks at me like, "Go away while you can, because I'm going to throw you down the stairs." And oh God! So I look at my friend Tim. I go, "What are we going to do? I don't know. Let's go up." And so we're walking around the mezzanine. We got behind the stage. In those days, you could find an empty seat behind the stage. It wasn't securityed off or anything cordoned off. So I got
before the insurance company started telling people what to do. Yeah,
I got to sit behind the stage, looking right down on top of the drummer, because it's quite an angled. And it was the best view, because if you're sitting in front of the stage, well, you see the top of the tom-toms on the bass drums, and you see the drummer's head and his shoulders and arms, and that's it. I got to see everything, his feet, how he was doing everything. By the way, this guy had the most enormous muscular calves I've ever seen. He was a freak. He was like a bodybuilder. And anyway, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, and if you look at the Bursting Out album, the view I had was the photo actually looking down on top of the. So
cool.
For an opportunity, I got to see how he did it. I went, oh, that's the sticking pattern he's doing. Okay, I get it now. Because like I said, no YouTube. You could not go, Mike Portnoy talks about this and shows you a technique for that. I mean, it's like, what? When I was in band class, when I was like, this time in band class, when I was in when I was like 17, my drum teacher said, go to Steve's music shop, talk to Mo Slutsky, he was like the drum guru at the time, and ask for this album called Five Guys Looking for a Drummer, or Five Guys Needing a Drummer. And it was a vinyl album, like a small jazz ensemble. Well, 5-6 players, sextet, I think they call that.
Mm-hmm. Tool. The drummer in Tool does a solo in one of the songs, which will blow your mind. He incorporates digital drums and acoustic drums, and he has some programmed with different things, and he uses the technology in a very creative way.
Mm-hmm. Really cool. I'm not saying it's. I'm just.
No, it's just that there's if it's used properly, technology improves music. Like,
absolutely.
Look at keyboards. I mean, my keyboard plays grand piano. I can't afford a grand piano.
Yeah.
But I can put that on my recordings, and the sound difference on a mix with different instruments is really barely noticeable.
I saw. I think it was the Us tour, Peter Gabriel, way back in the day, and he had a violin player from Libya or something, Northern Africa somewhere, and the guy had this. It looked like a plexiglass stick with wires coming out of it, clear acrylic with violin strings on it, and these weird kind of shapes coming off of it. It was like it was a violin style instrument, but it looked like something Mr. Spock would play, and the creepiest sounds, the most mournful melodies would come out of this thing, and I'd be like, wow. So that's when I said, I got to get one of those violin bows and see what I can do with it on a drum set. Now, at the time I had, I still have brass cymbals, right? I have an electronic drum set with rubber cymbals, but I have brass cymbals too. And what's cool is you take the bow for your violin or your cello or something, and you apply a generous amount of the string wax on it, and you stabilize the bell of a cymbal, and you
down the edge,
draw it down the edge, up and down, and it's like putting your finger on a wine glass, right?
That is to get so cool.
The hum out of it, and it is really a disturbing sound, but like cool at the same time.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
You'll get these like there's another technique. You take gongs and you whack it, and then you drop it in a bucket of water and let it vibrate through the water. Totally changes the sound.
Wow.
Yeah. Really cool stuff.
That is really cool.
Yeah. Maybe next time I'll bring I still have the bow, and I'll bring a cymbal, and
definitely
I'll demo it.
Well, you're definitely invited for another show.
I think what thing we could do would be cool is making different sounds with all sorts of different objects.
That'd be interesting.
Because I have a tickle trunk full of odd percussion instruments, thumb pianos, singing bowls, tamboas.
We'll do that.
Bows on the edges of cymbals, bells. Yeah, I got a lot of stuff. That could be some content that maybe somebody would be interested in.
There's a market for everything.
I'm 60. I still like toys. But my favorite toys are odd little percussion musical instruments. you know?
Yeah. That's cool.
I dig it, man. It's just like, wow, that's so cool. I saw this thing the other day. Amazing. It was a guy from Ghana, and he had a thing called a cash kosh, or a kosh cash. And I showed the video to a few other guys I work with, and they go, yeah, they had another name for it. He goes, that's for kids. But the way this guy was playing it, basically it's like a shaker ball with granules of whatever in it, about, this big. And it's got a string through it, and at the other end there's another one. And you hold one of them in your palm, and you loop the string around, and you hold like one from the top, one from the bottom, and you flip it back and forth in your hands. And it makes this maraca sound, but it also makes this clave clicking sound at the same time when the two spheres contact each other. Totally cool. Well, I'm like, that is amazing.
You mentioned toy instruments. Jack Black was on the late night show. I forget which late night show it was.
Oh,
and he played that. Yeah. Come on, he killed it.
Whatever, the mouth organ thing.
Yeah, he killed it. It was like an electronic sax or something.
Yeah.
He killed it.
Oh, for sure.
Well, on that note, it's getting close to your departure time because I know you have to do some stuff. And I really want to thank you. The conversation's been amazing.
Thanks a lot, Kev.
And I hope everybody enjoyed this. And we're going to do this again. And on my final thoughts, be kind to somebody today. And forgiveness is a gift. Don't worry about the pain. It goes away. And just be happy. So, see you in the next one. Let's gong it out.
Thanks for watching.
We're going to gong out the show.
Okay, everybody remembers the gong show? Here, you do this one.
And
I'll hold it.
5, 4, 3, 2.
It's got a lovely sustain. You can just hear it.
Spinal Tap. Great reference. Good way to go
another a special two-parter on Spinal Tap.